How's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. Make sure to like button upon coming in. Let's give people a minute to come in. A lot of people going live. I'm pretty sure trying to keep your head full of a whole bunch of nonsense. But this is a story that I haven't heard nobody tell within the Manosphere, but I'm going to tell it myself, though. I am going to tell it myself. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Um, my mother died a long time ago. Well, wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. But man, there's a lot of people lying on their actual parentage and how they got here. Give a shout out to the people who's here early. Let's see. And this is the only time I'm going to address women directly. One of the only times. What's going on? Check for you. What's going on, Mom Perry? What's going on, Ike? What's going on, Maze Vlog? What's going on? All right. What's going on, Pork Chop Proprietor? Okay, so even though in the small city that I was raised in Mississippi, most of both of everybody's parents worked. Most of both of everybody's parents worked. There were still union jobs back then. There were still places to work for both people who did want to work, and then there was a whole bunch of people who wanted to just hang out. Most of the women were decent women. I'm talking about the older generation, the boomers in my community. Most of them were decent women. They worked, husband worked. They just had ungrateful ass children, to be quite honest with you. They had ungrateful children. And for a lot of these people's outcomes, you would have thought these people grew up in the projects. Those people didn't grow up in the projects. Those people grew up in two-parent households, houses that was handed down to the mother and father, and after they subsequently died, was handed down to them. Again, most of the women in the boomer generation that I grew up around, there wasn't some ancient ass women. There wasn't. What's going on, yo? They actually did care about their kids. They actually did put in two, three shifts where they was working at. They actually did all these church functions for their kids. They actually did show up to all these teacher conferences for their nothing ass children, who rewarded them with abject. That I was around in my actual community. The worst group of women that I actually been around was plus six, my age. It's either my age, probably minus two, or plus six. That is probably the worst group of women that I've ever been around in my life. But here's the thing: you still had all those decent women and all that kind of other stuff, but those children just wanted to be on some counterculture nonsense. Why? They wanted to hang out with the street dudes. They wanted to hang out with the gang members. They wanted to hang out with all the stuff that they never had any access to, never had any experience with. I mean, never. And then you had the 80s roll around. Well, not roll around. I grew up in the 80s. But that's when you started to see a precipitous kind of fall off, starting with the teenage pregnancy from, the people who was plus six, you know, my age, obviously getting impregnated by the ancient boomers in the actual community, by the way. And then that's when the actual community started to shift and change, especially with the advent of them building projects around our houses. Because we lived in a square block of houses, and then they built projects kind of like in the open areas around those square blocks of houses. So we was pretty much outnumbered when it came to those people living all over the city. And once they got, in those circumstances as single mothers or whatever, they would just start filing into our community. And it slowly changed our actual community from a working class, kind of middle class community to being straight up the hood because we got outnumbered pretty quick. Dude, I could go up and down every one of these streets. I could pull up a map right now, go up and down every one of these streets, tell you all the jobs that these people's had, everything that these actual people done. They did a lot of great stuff for people. And they probably got more things from people that wasn't even their parents because people actually did like decent human beings back then than their actual real kids. Like like I can go home right now. Like I used to go home like around Mother's Day. They used to be my thing. I used to take like 3 months off. I used to take off from January to April, sometimes May. But I would always go back home for Mother's Day. What's going on, Spiritual Rock? What's going on, Deion Davis? And every time I would go home for Mother's Day, I would start going around these people's houses and just looking at the outcomes of these children. What's going on, XC? All this shit that they put into their kids, and these mothers are telling me about how their kids just pissed away everything that they ever gave them. It was wild, man. Women telling me to stay away from their daughters, no matter what. They're in this community for a reason. Stay away from them. Don't bother dating them. Don't even talk to them. I'm serious. The very people who gave their entire lives up for their actual children, their children was treating them with mad disrespect. And not only that, the kids that they had way too early was treating them with disrespect too. I remember like one of the first deaths in our actual community came from my actual cousin. His mother was a nurse at Delta Regional Medical Center, and his father was an over the road truck driver. I think for Tyson when my dad still worked there. Yeah, 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 yeah. They both worked at Tyson, and she was making twice the amount of money he was, and they still lived in the neighborhood. So you talking about dude had Benzes, their family had Benzes, right? They made a lot of money. And then the oldest brother of theirs had no business gang banging or none of that dumb shit. He had his ass down there on Nelson Street, end up getting killed over some stupid shit. Mother got real sick, had a heart attack. A couple years later, had another heart attack. She up out of there. Dad, I think, lived like about 5 more years, and then he was up out of there. Whole family fell apart because all this stuff they put into this dude. He was a straight A student, but he just wanted to be a hood dude for some dumbass reason. I think the only one that made out of that shit with the youngest sister is now she's a doctor. but then again, had all the stuff that you think that people would want to have. Like our mother gave like everybody like the whole rundown on who to mess with, who not to mess with, all this kind of other stuff. But guess what? Nearly all of my brothers wanted that type of experience with the wrong type of person. Was it her fault that they had bad outcomes? No. They had the same information that I had. It was just practiced differently. The same information. It was just practiced way differently. And they wanted to stand in line behind women who lost multitudes of kids because it's not a secret. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows everything that happened. Everybody knows when somebody is pregnant, when they're not, when they get a child, when they lose them to the state, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. And they still wanted the wrong type of experiences because they thought with that information that they had enough information to where they can afford to fail, right? Again, you can't claim that decent women wasn't around then. They were. And you knew the difference between one group of women and the other. So there's no reason how even today these people can be spending so much time hyper focused on women that they don't want when these women wasn't even in that high supply back then versus now. They wasn't in that high supply back then. I remember the first time like there was this far older woman who was hanging around like young ass people like me and like my friends and shit. Like my mother was like, no, she just walked up to her like, "What are you doing around my son?" Oh, she was like, "Oh, these are our friends." And I'm like, "Yeah." She usually come around. She was like, "Yeah." She took a purse from her. She dug through a purse and looked for an idea. Like this woman is 35 years old. This woman has no fucking business hanging around dudes who are 15 and 16 years old. But that's the way it was, man. It's like, look, there was women around there who protected dudes coming up. They wasn't like these dudes that you see around here who want to keep their mouth closed with everything that's going on. Nothing's really happening. Like, nah, man. Women actually did step up and step out there and try to protect dudes back then. Women too. But see, these are the stories that don't get all the kind of airplay and shit. Cause I ain't got time to be listening to some incompetent ass motherfucker woman who don't know how to pick a fucking dude. I'm not getting in the middle of no stupid ass shit like that. They ain't the only one. Like, listen. Like, I had like older female cousins who was clearly on that crazy shit. Who was like they was doing some pretty. I'm talking about off the wall shit, and they would tell your ass in a heartbeat, you don't need to be fucking with women like us. You don't need to be fucking with no woman who's out here on the same shit that we own. Because certain women would try young ass dudes all the time. Strong Quizzer Prince. Strong Ryan son. So there was a time like one of these women was trying to like, get with a dude or whatever. She was like far older. She was probably like 23, 24. I had to be no younger or older than like 14. They was like, man, well, you can't do this with this. No, you gotta go find somebody else. That's how it was. Like the good kids who got a future, the good kids who didn't want to be around that shit, they got mad protection, even from the horrific women in that environment. they still had protection from the bullshit. Now, if you still wanted to engage with those type of women anyway, after they tried to tell you to stay the hell away from that shit, then you got no protection whatsoever, and you got what you got. So all this type of point of view of there wasn't no women around, there was like, nah, bro. There was plenty of people around who was telling you not to deal with that stuff. It's just that these people wanted that type of stuff anyway. And you can tell those type of dudes who are kind of in this space because they talk all this crazy shit about women, but then they still messing with the same type of women that they actually are complaining about, which I really never really understood that. But that's what this stuff was, man. It was like, bro, like, man, bro, like my grandmother was cold with it, man. Yeah, man. She used to call this thing called the bacon ass whooping, right? So let's say that because you know it was a lot of brothers, a lot of sisters in the household, correct? And we had to stay with her because she was kind of you know bedridden or whatever, and we had like overlapping levels of protection inside the community. So if you was fucking up, right, somebody would come over and tell my grandmother about it, and my grandmother would bake them a mean ass cake or a mean. So most of the time, I'll say about 50% of the time, because 50% of it was psychological torture. The other 50% was you actually did some shit and you about to get your ass whooped for it, right? So you'll come home and all of a sudden you smell a cake baking or a pie being baked, and you think like, what's going on, man? Like, oh man, bro, somebody about to get their ass whooped today. So you go in the house and you act like you don't smell shit. You know, you say hi to her or whatever, and then you try to go to the room. Then she call you back out front. Then you know the pie come out the oven. She's like, "Yeah, I need to go take this over here to this person right here." Now you don't want to say no. I mean, you wasn't gonna say no, right? But you don't know whether or not you taking this pie over here because of you did some shit, or you taking this pie over here over somebody else did some shit. So you taking this pie over there, and shit, you dropping it off, and you like thinking about this shit the whole way over there, like, man, what the fuck could a nigga have done? Like, man, what could I? Man, bro, I hope, yeah, man, like you second guessing and questioning yourself the whole time while you taking this pie over there, right? Then you come back home, nah, bro, she done already got her target already. Target acquired. Know when you get that good ass whooping, you go to sleep and you don't wake up till tomorrow. That's how that shit was, man. Yeah, man. Like my grandmother was the same way, man. My grandmother had mad protection for most women in the fucking community. My grandmother could not stand a non-productive ass fucking dude. She couldn't stand that shit. She hated seeing these older dudes in the community after after everybody went to school. She couldn't stand seeing these older men in the community. She couldn't stand seeing dudes outside the fucking liquor store. She used to round up kids and take kids to fucking school if she caught these motherfuckers. Like like before she got bedridden or whatever. She used to like round up kids and like drop their ass off at school. She couldn't stand kids like just walking around the community, just be walking around the community. Cause they'll end up in the hands of these older boomer ain't shit ass dudes, and then next thing you know, these little kids will be breaking in people's houses and cars and all this kind of stupid shit. Because those type of dudes didn't really give a fuck about fucking up other people's kids, trying to get them initiated in gangs and all type of other foolishness. Trust me, it was the women who was making sure that that shit was going down, not really the dudes. The dudes just wanted to be on some quiet. be okay with this type of bullshit going on shit. She couldn't stand that shit. And my grandfather was doing the same shit on the north end, the same thing. Be going through the community, asking people what the fuck you doing here. Nah, man, it's a school day. You got to go to school. You got to go to school. I don't want to go. You got to go to school, man. He would routinely go out there and tell them dudes that they ain't shit and that they ain't doing nothing but getting a whole bunch of people pregnant and all this kind of stupid shit. Like, yeah, most of the time the women were at home laying down the law for the entire fucking community while the men were fucking at work. And pretty soon the uncultured reptiles just started multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. And next thing you know, there was nothing left but those dudes. Those dudes wanted to spread their apathy to young ass kids, their bad outcome to young ass kids. That's what them dudes' job was. Those dudes who had them good ass upbringings, they were there to re-socialize all the kids into not doing what the hell they were supposed to do. So when I say I have a lot of hatred for these people, my hatred is based on exact circumstance and basis. However, people keep pretending like there was all these badass women around that gave these women these bad outcomes. Man, get the fuck out of my face with that shit, man. There was a lot of good ass women down there. A lot of them died really fucking early because they was worried sick about they nothing ass fucking kids that they put in this world, that they gave them everything that they actually need, and they turned around, they turned their back on how they was fucking raised. They spit in their parents' fucking face. Mostly the fucking women. Yeah, what's going on, Tita Godly? What's going on, Spiritual Life to Hope? I'm not lying, man. Like, that's how it was. My grandmother on my dad's side, she was pretty, the loving type, but she was equally balanced out by my fucking Godzilla ass fucking grandfather and my motherfucking grandmother on my mother's side, because my grandfather died under some mysterious circumstances after my mother was born. But she was kind of like both halves. Business person, because my mother's side of the family had all the business people. My dad's side of the family had all the musicians and athletes and shit. That's kind of how like my family kind of broken down. The older women married well on my dad's side of the family. Um, their husbands were either ex-military or retired, obviously, or some type of union worker, most likely post office or UPS or FedEx or some tobacco company or some other shit in the Midwest. So all of them married well, and my far younger aunts turned out the same way that the Generation X women turned out in my family, man. Most of them very good upbringings, but there was on some counterculture shit where they flushed all that shit down the fucking drain, fucked up all their kids. Even on drugs like that either. Like the drug shit came through like in the 90s, but people really wasn't on drugs like that. Like a lot of the men were, a lot of the children were of these fucking people. That's what the shocking thing was. Like a lot of like young ass dudes was on crack cocaine. I agree. I agree. It is environmental and it is circumstantial. Cause after my father had died, man, like bro, we was poured in a motherfucker. but it didn't really lead us to going out there doing some wildfire stupid shit like stealing and doing all this crazy shit. Like it didn't lead us to doing that. Actually, most of the people who I was that poor around, most of those dudes are 6 figure dudes now. We all grew up in that fucked up ass circumstance, and nearly everybody is 6 figures right now. Nearly everybody is 6 figures right now. Nearly everybody who left, anyway. You want to know why? Because it's easy. And you're already at your destination before you even try to do shit. That's why that is. Because it's easy. Acting like you ain't got no damn sense, easy. It's going complex. Yeah, that shit was easy. Being in the gang, easy. Hanging around dudes that ain't shit, easy. Super easy. That stuff was just right there. It was turnkey fuckery. You didn't even have to work that hard to go. And man, you'll never hear me try to find room to talk shit about women, bruh. Fuck that. I was raised around some good ass motherfuckers who taught me better than to go out here and try to focus deliberately on people that I don't want to fucking be around. Now, I do that shit for men because men are actually causing a problem within our male space. But women, it's too easy to ignore them. I would say it's one and the same. I would say it's one and the same. I think that anti intellectualism shit is a way to cover for their actual lack of progress in society. And that everything has to be handed to them and everything has to be turnkey. I Lawrence, I agree. Will for ignorance. And I'm not making no excuses for these people. I'm not holding up nothing for these fucking people. Nothing. Not a damn thing. It's just like how people come to this Black Manosphere for entertainment shit when they clearly could be on some productive shit. I don't even try to worry about those people. You leave their ass out there. Don't even focus on them at all. You chase them over there to the relationship zone, and once their ass is over there, you let them stay there. There's no need to keep over pursuing them beyond getting them over there to where they normally need to be at. But that's the thing, man. Like, bro, like, even, bro, even when I was in the military, man, bro, there was a lot of decent ass motherfucking women out there. Like one of my best friends, like I had in basic training. You know, she died like a couple years ago of cancer or whatever. But yeah, man, decent motherfucker, man. She was from Dallas, Texas. Yeah, she was from Dallas, man. Real decent motherfucker. Her sisters were decent people. Her mother was a great person, and it's like, man, I don't see how got man. I just don't understand that. But at the end of the day, man, like this is how come you get out of those communities, you get out of those circumstances, you get your shit together so that way you could be in different groups of people. You ain't got to go to the bottom gutter shit no matter where you go, man. That's a choice. I did not want to be around that shit. I was never raised around it. I was never raised to respect it. I never wanted to be around it, and I wanted to be the hell away from it whenever it became a chance for me to do so. Certain circumstances you really can't dodge it, especially when it comes to family get-togethers and all that kind of shit, which pretty much just served as an actual reminder of what you're not to be with at the end of the day. But a lot of this focus is on the wrong people, and it's focused on the wrong people on purpose because it's too easy to talk about fucked up shit. What's going on, TJ? It's too easy for that. And the problem is, the people with the most complaints about women are the dudes who's trying to get all this free shit away from women. Like they ain't got shit to offer, but they want everything from them up front before they get to be what they supposed to be as a dude. That shit never really made no sense to me either. Okay, you supposed to walk in with pure game and lies, and you supposed to get this so-called decent motherfucker that you gonna flip. Like, what is this? What is this? I'm glad my family socialized me out of giving a shit about that shit a long time ago. I had too many examples in my family that I was pointed to look at as what not to actually end up with. Yeah, man, I just couldn't do that shit to my mother, father, grandmother, grandfather. I couldn't do that shit, man. Dude, I feel like a whole embarrassing motherfucker if I was to end up with the wrong type of person at the end of the day, given all the experience that I have. That's just growing up. That's not even counting the military experience. That's not even counting the law enforcement experience. That's not even counting the fugitive recovery experience. That's not even counting the private investigator experience. It doesn't even count all that shit. What's going on, Truth? As I know it. There's no way I'd be able to surrender to some shit like that just because these other dudes did. It sure does, man. Sure does. Always have. That's why I try to keep 10 toes down in what I'm doing all the time. I want to be the most informed person about what is going on in my field. No one is going to give me that type of information. No one is going to give me that type of drive. No one is going to do any of that for me but me. Yeah, I'm telling you, it works. It works. It works. It's a lonely road, but the results are immediate. As long as you ain't trying to give those results to the wrong people, the results are immediate. Once I figured out you could live in the worst area of town, the only thing you got to do is just fucking sleep there while you going to school and all that. Yeah, zero tolerance is like, bro, you can be around so much fucking bullshit. You ain't got to engage in none of it. Long as you got places to go, long as you got things to do, there ain't nothing you got to worry about because that place is temporary. Temporary. I'm telling you. But but see, they can't talk from a standpoint of like that though. They can't talk from that standpoint because they're used to hiding their failures among a bunch of broken men and women. And you own 100% of your time equity when you ain't got to watch your back 24 hours a day. All that time equity is yours. You get to invest how much time you want to or how little time you want to in your actual own progress when you exercise zero fucking tolerance. That stuff ain't that hard. Drop this link here. I can't be the only one who had decent upbringing and had decent experiences with women. I can't be the only person like that. Oh, I cannot be the only person People are trying to make it look like having a two-parent household of two people giving a shit about you like it's some rare ass thing. Like, no, bro, it's not some rare ass thing. It's not some rare ass thing. A lot of people had that shit. They just pissed it away on some bullshit and don't want to own up to the fact that they had a far better start than anybody did and still had far worse results. Yeah, but a lot of people had those mixed results too, man. But even if you did have those mixed results, you knew what not to get into in your own life. It wasn't like your life didn't serve as an actual example of shit not to do. Like I think there's a lot wrong with this space because we try to blame women for shit that ain't got nothing to do with a man's ability to choose. A man's ability to choose and put up with shit ain't got nothing to do. This is what I value more than anything else in the world. And any woman I fucking ever dealt with better understand that that's what comes first around here. You're not here to maintain those three. You're not here to add to my life in any meaningful fucking way. You can get to stepping because I can go right back to being by my damn self and doing all this shit all the way by myself. Nothing wrong with that. Hey man, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And definitely don't fix it with bullshit. Oh man. Man, I get this question a lot. How come you don't talk about your mother? It's like I don't know what the fuck I can say that's not here with better information. Like I don't know what I can say about my mother that is not here through better information. Better information is here is way better than my mother gave me. Better information is already out there right now. And listening to like the better information that my mother given me, that's not gonna make you engage in far better information and far better outcomes and far worse circumstances that you can go through the click of a mouse. Same thing with my father and grandfather. Like the dude, I'm telling you right now, bro, you don't need no two-parent household today. The only thing you need is, am I gonna keep this bullshit going or am I going to actually separate from it? And if you're gonna separate from it, then it clearly doesn't matter. You're gonna go after the best information that's out there. What's going on, Yori? Oh, the what's going on, man?
Hey, MOT, what's going on, my brother?
Oh, chilling out, man, chilling out.
Yeah, I see you talking a little on Mother's Day, and it's a pretty important day. Even though my mom, she passed on, but I have to give her, she as well as my dad, he passed on a lot of good stuff to me, great stuff. But my mom too, she was around a lot longer. My dad passed on, in the earlier '90s. My mom, she passed away a couple of years ago, as you know. But she was a professor, great teacher, and um, held tight. So I think a lot of what you're saying here uh, is very relatable, very relatable. Everyone who had good women in their family, strong mothers, and so forth, who really helped to raise you right. Really lay down the law. I one thing that you said I thought was really right on time. Anybody standing around being unproductive, That just was not. She didn't like that.
No, she hated that shit.
That
She
was a
hated that shit.
real problem. So anybody who was just hanging out and just dragging around, that didn't work. That didn't work at all. So that was something that was not tolerated. So and there are a lot of women out there like that, and there are a lot of others who will accept it, but the women who are out there who are very serious about not accepting that really helped to produce, I would say, productive people who understood. You always had to push it. You always had to push it. Not everybody's perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have our issues. But be as productive as possible. Anybody laying up, not acceptable.
Yeah, but you have to understand, man. Like they seen this shit devolve and how one person can like really weaponize a lot of lost people within the environment and turn those people into multiplied problems within the environment
Oh yeah, but
itself.
those people were anybody who was moving like that. They were not accepted. That was an entity that was going to be around. You weren't going to be hanging around in the environment. You were going to be removed from that environment. Get this person out of here. I remember when we were kids and we were playing, and if you either you were in sports, school, doing that, or mom wasn't hanging out with people. She'd pick us up from our friend's house and stuff like this, and if you had somebody in the backseat, acting real crazy, talking all messed up, not in anything. I don't like that person. I don't want you around. My father would of course chime in, but my mom would be on top of that. Seeing who you were around,
Yeah,
people who were non-functional, people who were bad eggs. You weren't tolerated in that environment. That was something that you weren't tolerated. My parents, they were very strict about that. My mom, she was not having that, and that's what if you're gonna have a mother out here who is really about business, they're gonna be about that. They're gonna be seeing who you're around, especially when you were a kid. Who you hanging out with? Who you down with? That was important. And non-productive people just were not a part of the. They weren't part of the program. You weren't. You
and the
weren't.
gone. I'm telling you, man, guilt by association works like a motherfucker. It's hella fucking.
Oh
It's
yeah.
hella fucking effective. There was no
Oh yeah.
such thing as I was the most decent person out of this group of idiots. Like, nah, man, you over there with them dudes, you over there with them dudes. All right. Whatever they're into, you're responsible for.
Well,
Period.
well, well, we were always looked at. You judge by the company you keep. You judge by the company you keep. That's just how it was. Like with my son, you know, uh, he was coming up. He always hung around a lot of kids. They played sports or whatever. Then he got into the band. I was a little concerned about drugs and stuff like that with them with the band and stuff, but they seemed to stay away from it. I'm sure they some of their boys hooked up a little weed or so, but they were playing. He's a great bass player, great lead guitarist. They were into writing music. They were into doing a lot of creative stuff. So we made sure we kept an environment like that for them, where they had the garage and everything else like that. Um, that was something that we tried to keep a good environment where kids could kind of flourish and grow around you. Same way I
Yeah.
did for my daughter, and I remember when she was getting in her in the higher years of high school, she was had some good friends, but then was getting around some shady people, and we were all over that. Um, it's the same, and then my grandson, of course, even though it's a little different, but he's around us a lot, and man, he hangs around a great crowd of kids. So it's you got to be around. You are judged by the company you keep. So if
No
you're
doubt.
around people who are cut ups and messing up all over the place, you're gonna do that. If you're around people who are doing productive stuff, you're gonna be more productive. And mothers play a big role. And since this is Mother's Day, mothers do play a big role, especially if they're on top of their game. They're keeping an eye on that and seeing that you're around good people that are going to be productive, because your friends in so many respects are your wealth in so many ways. And the older you get, you see just how true that really is.
Yeah, man. Look, if I can't smell Tiger Mom on a bitch, I can't be around you, man. I don't know what the fuck you're doing here, but chances are you're in the wrong place. But this is just what we at, man. It's like, bro, we're just a different culture of dudes, man. Like I wasn't raised around a whole bunch of scandalous, keep my mouth closed around a bunch of bullshit ass nigga shit. I wasn't raised around that shit, man. I wasn't raised around that shit. I wasn't raised to respect the type of foolishness, man. I just wasn't.
Uh, that that is that's just how it is, and it's got to be that way. I mean, I'm looking at somebody had made a comment here. I don't know who made this, but said my speech pattern alone has repelled a lot of non-productive people. You know, and that is so
Yeah,
true. It's because your speech is kind of a reflection of kind of how you've come up, raised, and to a large extent, your thought process as well. That plays a role. And what he's saying there is very, very, very accurate. So how you carry yourself will definitely keep a lot of people away from you. So it's important to be around good people, like that. All my friends and stuff like that, my college friends and all, and they're all into doing a lot of great stuff. Other people who I've picked up, especially outside of college, a lot of them are in the political arena and so forth. So I'm around very productive people, and we're always, into or looking at productive things. And a lot of us are getting older. A lot of us are moving towards retirement and this kind of deal. But still productive, and looking to have hopefully your kids are productive as possible. Not every kid's going to be perfect. Some are going to, have their issues, but try to keep them as productive as you can. And we're always consistently trying to push the push the ball forward. And that's key. That's what we really want to do out here is just keep pushing things forward, keep paying it forward. But talking about mothers, and since it's Mother's Day, mothers play a very big role in that. And very attentive, very how would I say, conscientious mothers who are really, really into what their kids doing will help to enhance your life and and help you grow. That's what they do. That's what good moms do. That's what they do. God bless
Lawrence, what's going on, man? It's been a while. What's going
Hey,
on, man?
them.
shalom.
Lawrence Guy, what's going on, brother? What's going on?
Shalom to you
Shalom,
guys,
shalom.
and
Great to see you.
shalom to everybody in the chat. If I sound a little wonky, my internet's having a little problem. Okay, so
Oh, okay.
I'll try to stay in control of that. Um, for the vast majority of it, I do agree with you, MOT, hands down. Well, at least in my case, I had some brothers who were in the same age group as me, and I've talked about it many times with my cousin William and his friends that became mine, who made it a point that when they saw myself or someone like me who had the potential to get out of the hood or to be better than what we currently had in the hood, they rallied around to ensure that I didn't get involved in the stuff that they did, like running the streets, smoking weed, robbing people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it's 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 a collaborative effort in my mind. Um,
It was in my case. It definitely
yeah,
was.
because what I've learned to be in a way for a while is to look at the totality of a thing. And at the end of the day, women are not right or wrong. Men are not right or wrong. Grandmother's not right or wrong. Your neighborhood is not right or wrong. It's just the circumstances of who you put yourself around. And if you could find good people who's willing to protect you and help you, that goes a long way to make it all happen. Did my friends do crazy stuff that they shouldn't have? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, most of them should be in jail, if not under it, to be honest with you. But again, like I said, when they recognize, just like your grandmother would, recognizes that the potential in you, and they look around and see those who don't have that potential, they rally around to protect you. And like I said, I've gotten that from both male and female. I've gotten that from thugs. I've gotten that from teachers. I've gotten that from business people that I've worked for and worked with. Um, again, it's not a black and white thing, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, because like a lot of that stuff was still choice association, no matter what it was. What's going on, spiritual logic hope? What's going on, man?
Hey man, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, man. It's always refreshing to hear people just speak basic common sense. Um, this stuff is real simple, and it's always been simple. Like just like I said in the chat, what works always worked, and it never required us to deal with the things that we know doesn't work. And consistency and people just not being honest and having integrity. There's something in the Bible that says, "How can two walk together unless they agree?" And it's this kind of cognitive dissonance that people have to not understand that to simply walk with someone that you know is foolish will reflect on you being a fool. And it just does. And people don't have this consistency and integrity to just be honest about what people are really here for. And just say it. And once you say it, you acknowledge what you're here for, you acknowledge what it's about, and then no one will have a problem. But what people are doing is that they're conflating and trying to act like two things that are opposite can coexist, and they can't. You can't be productive and unproductive at the same time. You just can't. You can't be right and wrong at the same time. And it's like, I don't know, man. When I first came around like men like you all, it was pretty self evident that there was an agreement about guys learning from experience, putting information and networking together to kind of help, particularly people who were younger and everyone else kind of learn and add wisdom and kind of progress in life. And it's like people don't want to be honest that that was what brought this, that's what kind of created this whole space. And it's not anything else and it's like, as long as that was a focus, everything was kind of under that context. But then everything shifted to be about entertainment and the galvanizing of fools and brokenness. And it's like people just can't be honest because people act like they can't make money being productive, or they act like they can't do anything without like compromise and kind of like catering to foolishness, which is, you know you talking about men that are 35, 40, 45, 50 and above. It's just ridiculous to kind of regress backwards to what everyone should have learned from. Life teaches us the things that, like, life has a way of teaching you things, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. Because if you don't acknowledge it, you either will die or you will suffer in a way that you will become irrelevant anyway. And so it's like it's not like you can't ignore what's happening. Just like this space, we have to kind of be witnesses to this infinite compromise of, something that started off kind of being about men and progress and productivity, and just the betterment of us as a collective, to this kind of regression into effeminate, emotional, irrational behavior. And it's just like, it's obvious. And it's like, I guess people found a niche through dysfunction and chaos. There's always some grifter that comes through and tries to hustle, those people who are ignorant or, you know, lack accountability about what's really going on. And I think that that's what the grift is all about. Once people realize that you can make money, like you always say, in being stagnant and kind of wasting your life and your time, it's like, man, many of us overcame great obstacles to get among other people that we can share this wisdom, to not go back to what could have took us out of here. You know what I'm saying? And it's just dumb, man. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
they're
think,
only like, I mean, but they're only poaching damn fools. Like they're not when they're concerned about uh, the, the money that they get out of people or the YouTube analytics. And it's like, okay, why don't we multiply that times 1,000? Oh, are we really trying to say that we're you really doing what you're doing so that way you can drag people off of the actual path of actually making something out of themselves just because you want to get some cheap laughs out of somebody. It's like I don't. I have a
It's crazy.
hard time thinking about it because when you ask them a direct question, they can
Hmm.
never answer it. They can't
Yeah.
answer it. They don't know how to answer direct questions. Actually, they don't even know how to operate around men, which I like. So it's like, look, you could just get your own self up out of here, right? So it's like nobody asked you to come here, to be around. This space actually means something, and you have the people who come to it and be like, "Nah, this space means this for me." I'm like, okay, so what do you consider being part of the space? They disappear before they tell you who they actually subscribe to, and it's like, dude, who you subscribe to and who you're around is the whole reason why you're here. So I don't worry about it. At the end of the day, these people talking this drizzle bullshit, and if it ain't that, it's you know, uh, trying to search through TikTok or trying to
Right.
find some woman to complain about to actually have their apathy being spread among the entire group, and when they're not doing that, they're trying to just they're riding the news cycle for something, and it's like, how come these people just can't just shut the fuck up and just go to Black YouTube? Black
Right.
YouTube is full of this stupid shit.
But
Like,
that's the problem. MOT, they come, see, somebody will broach a conversation that's about progress, right? And so you think if the topic is progress, that men will engage in that topic who are about progress. And so what happens is these guys kind of disguise themselves and kind of infiltrate among conversations that they know they're unprincipled to be in. And then they kind of like gain some kind of credentialed association with other people, and it's like, okay, I know these person, I know this person, and then once they kind of gather enough momentum and enough audience, then they branch off to kind of make some kind of foolishness that, oh look, I catered to the algorithm and got famous in some way. Now that's progress, and that's not progress. Progress is really comprehensive. It's not just about how much you can compromise to to gain or hustle a large majority of fools. That's not progress. Progress is what it's always been in all history. Progress is just moving forward, is learning from life and experience, overcoming adversity. That's what progress is, and it's always meant just that. It's not about looking at people who are going to do the most foolish things, because the bill always comes due. And that's what's
at some
happening.
point,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't, okay, you might benefit now. We've all done things that were dumb in our past that we had these little short term whatever from it, but life and time proves that, okay, this was not going in the trajectory that I want. And that's what's happening. This space is collapsing. People are complaining about all these things. And it's like, well, yeah, because you came into a space or people among people who are about progress, you detoured, and now you're reaping what you sowed because of your detour. It's not about that anything changed. You changed. The message didn't
and
change. The
and,
people are changing.
and they realize that you can't scale foolishness.
Right.
Like you're kind of at the foolishness point. So it's not like you're gonna flip foolishness into PhDs or foolishness into productive people
Right.
or like foolishness into actually high minded personnel. I'm like, dude, you came in here on some entertainment shit. You kind of got to stay there.
Yeah. Like,
You're not flipping that.
you notice that
Well, to
sometimes.
be,
Oh my
Go
bad,
ahead,
you got it.
Mark.
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry, were
Mark.
you talking?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, Lars, go ahead, man.
I'm sorry. What I was going to say is, as esoteric as this may sound, the necessity of fools is a requirement throughout life. If nothing else, to be teachable moments to those of us who choose not to be. I think that regardless of how much we yell, regardless of how much we fight against it, regardless of how much we may wish differently, and I say this both from a secular and from a spiritual perspective, that they're always going to be here. They serve their purpose, they serve their points. Unfortunately, the vast majority of it is to destroy and create condemnation within a community. But what generally happens is that those of us who don't conscribe to that lifestyle or theory will eventually rise above it, and we'll take along those who are willing to accompany us in a proper fashion, in a proper way. And from that, we build something new. Our thing is that we're just a little tired and we're a little frustrated because it's taking longer to murk for them to die off, I guess, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
for lack of a better terminology. But but again, these things must be. And like I said, whether you believe or don't believe, like I said, from a secular or a spiritual perspective, the truth lines up pretty much the same for both. This is just the nature of things. Frustrated, absolutely, and truth be told, in that proper righteousness, you should call them out and you should tell them who they are and where they need to go. But again, like I said, for every one that we get, they're going to get hundreds. That's just the way
Oh
it
yeah.
is. I mean, I
Now,
mean, I mean, and again, no disrespect, but like I said, from a secular perspective and from a spiritual perspective, both ways of life tells you that you're going to have more that fall by the way than you have those who will come to the truth.
You're absolutely saying the absolute truth, Lawrence. A lot of people don't want to have to look at it that way, or agree with it that way, but that is kind of the way things are. Even from a scientific perspective, it speaks to it. You have enthalpy, you have the concept of entropy. And enthalpy is something you have to put a lot of energy into to kind of keep things up, to put work into keeping a design moving forward. Or you have entropy, where if you don't do that, things will actually fall towards what would be said as a more of a natural state of disorder, where things become disorderly, and things that's the default button, is disorder. So at the end of the day, you do have to work to keep things orderly, and to keep things moving forward, to keep things progressing forward. It takes work. There's a certain amount of energy that you have to use to do that, or things will deteriorate. So the name of the game is, if we're going to work and push things forward, we're going to have to work towards it. To some degree, we've had issues, because maybe we weren't as diligent on things as we needed to be, and that's why certain things have fallen more disorderly than they should. Certain
Well,
societies
without,
certain
well,
societies
and
you go into, they don't play with a lot of disorder, and you get your head cut
well,
off if things don't go right. you know
well,
Folks ain't playing
look.
around with certain things.
I don't disagree with you. I don't. I just want to clarify something, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
go ahead.
With something you said.
Mhm.
There's a significant difference between us not necessarily doing due diligence and, as I said earlier in the chat when the stream started, willful ignorance. There is a
Yeah,
significant difference.
yeah, yeah.
Did we do our due diligence? In some cases, we didn't.
Mm.
And we have to be fair and honest about that, not just with each other, but with ourselves internally.
Yeah.
However, the fact that we're willing to get up and go back out and try to fix where we failed counts for everything. That's
Yeah.
radically different than people who willfully ignore the truth and willfully
right.
ignore to do the right thing, especially going back to what you were saying about entropy. Entropy. Look, at the end of the day, it takes incredible amounts of effort to create and maintain. It takes nothing to destroy.
That's exactly correct. That's
Absolutely
why
nothing.
that's why things fall towards disorder naturally. That's the natural default. So that's why
Yep.
we have to consistently stay on top of it. Yes, there are people who willfully want to mislead and bring things into a more disorderly condition, because they tend to function better in that type of environment, in a disorderly environment. Got to recognize, that there are those who are certainly going to do that, and have their interest in seeing it that way, and that's a bad thing. You want to root that out. You want to definitely, how would you say, deal with those who are like that. But that's where we are, and that's a constant battle. So,
Yeah,
um,
no, it is a constant battle, and it's something that, in my opinion, in my opinion, that all of us here have to get better at and learn how to I don't want to say ignore because that's the wrong word. But be a
Indifferent.
bit more temperate. Be a bit more temperate and different. Yeah, thank you, Hulk. And different, even apathetic. That's what I'm looking for. Be apathetic because again, at the end of the day, we can rage against this machine we want to, but the truth of the matter is that we have nothing to worry about. The universe will always handle them. The Most High will always handle them. It's going to come. It might look like they're getting a long run, but you can have the longest run you want, but it's going to end. Everything ends. So in that respect, I am more concerned about us than I will ever be about them because we do not need to get high blood pressure. We do not need to be stressed over their foolishness. We do not need to be bothered by what they do because at the end of the day, we already understand nothing they do, nothing they can do can affect us. I will say this from my cousin William, and I may have said it quite some years ago on the stream or something, but the one thing he taught me, regardless of how much he ran the streets, no matter how much dirt he did, this is one singular thing he always taught me. Someone's perception of me will never be my reality.
Well, they
So I
can't
don't
define.
care what I'm sorry.
They said, yeah, they can't define you. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong. I understand why we're having these conversations, and I understand the importance of them. I just think it's one of those situations where we can't take it that seriously or that deep because we know they're not that serious or that deep. They're just here for a season. They're going to be removed. Like I said, some go faster, some will take longer to remove, but they will be removed. And the funny part is that they will do it to themselves. They always do.
Yeah. And a lot of this, is like a revelation because a lot of this is infiltration, and it came in disguise. I'm realizing that certain things happen in this space to kind of expose people's true intention. It's like people were always there, but they were kind of waiting for an opportunity to
Yeah.
reveal what they're really about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
what happened. And that's what causes that's kind of where the chaos because this space was like one space, and everybody kind of worked even without differences. Everybody was kind of in one area collectively, and so these people were not visible until somebody that was promoting the opposite of progress gained a little traction, a little fame, and then all of a sudden it's like it gave them the confidence to kind of come out and say it and kind of go the other direction. And it's like since we all collectively came from the space, it's like okay, they want to say they want to look back and act like no, this is what the space was about. And like no, you came into a progressive, like you say, Black YouTube exists. You could go on any other thing, but why would you, if you're not about progress, why would you be around people who are speaking progress, things that are about progress? And it's like that's what kind of caught everybody off guard. This infiltration, this laying in wait, this disguising yourself, and not
Right.
being consistent about what you're really here for. And then you waited for somebody that's totally on the other end of the spectrum to gain some subs and some fame to say, yes, this is what we're here for. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's that this was somebody who just, had his own their own agenda and revealed that these people are compromising and unprincipled. And the basic principles of masculinity is that you're not going to be easily moved by what's going on around you. Is that you can stay focused on what the goal is without having to compromise or conform to anything dysfunctional for fame or popularity. Like this whole idea of popularity is to me is the most anti-masculine thing that I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes, it is.
It's
Yes,
it's
it
it's
is.
crazy.
Yes,
Like
it is. Yes, it is.
honestly,
Thank you
my
for
life,
saying that.
yeah, my life, and using myself as an example, my life in itself reveals to me that when I try to, like Lawrence was saying, when you try to cater to other people, it actually steers you in the wrong direction. It's actually realizing that the right path is your responsibility. It's not. It's what's revealed to you in your life is your responsibility, and it's going to be probably against any everybody how everybody else views it because you're in your specific unique circumstance that you have to figure out about your life. That's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And
And
so
Hulk, if
if I,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, no,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And it's like if I wanted to be popular, I would ignore what my experiences from my life were revealing to me. And since I actually realized what my experience was revealing, I need to ignore a lot of what's going on around me and listen and be attentive to what these experiences. This is why adversity is like the best catalyst for growth, because it forces you to be set apart. It forces you to look at yourself in a very unique way that has nothing to do with nobody else but you. You got it.
Uh, I think that is incredibly accurate. I remember when I was in college, and I was pledging a fraternity. And I'm not going to get all into that, but they made us memorize a poem, and that poem was called "If." I don't know if you have ever heard of that, written by Rudyard Kipling. And that poem, just one verse of it would be, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, but don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. There's a whole lot more that goes really into this, but you really have to take a look at if you can do certain things, you will succeed. And I think this is what we're really talking about really here. The name of the game is to kind of stay on course, and whatever comes coming at you in many different ways, like you're saying, don't let that veer you off your path. And I think that is a key message, and that's something I would have to say. Once again, tying that back to your mom or your mother, or to Mother's Day. My mother was always about that. Don't let anything keep you from really achieving your path. Stay on it. Stay on your path. Keep studying. Keep doing this. Don't let things make you vary off your path if you are looking to reach a very specific goal. And I think here with the space and other things, we have to keep our eyes on that as well. Um, don't vary off the path. There's going to be many who are going to try to knock you off of it. I think that says a lot for the space as well.
Well, that's
What's
that's
going on, Red
that's
Sox, man? What's going on, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
RM,
shalom,
What's up? What's
shalom,
up, Nagone? What's up?
what's up?
Peace.
Yeah, no,
shalom.
I was gonna say, it's great that you all actually are having this discussion. I remember in college, one of my favorite quotes I always learned was a quote by Steve Jobs, where he was giving the commencement at Stanford. Um, and he always said, it was along the same thing y'all are saying, but he basically said, paraphrasing, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition, and don't let the noise of the world drown out your inner voice. So kind of same thing y'all are saying, in the sense of, you know, you got to at some point, seems to be a lot of times when you're younger, especially as a male, to sort of tune out a lot of the external noise that can sort of distract you. But from what I've seen, it even seems like it happens when you get older. I'm only in my early 30s, so um, obviously can't speak too much on it. But it sounds like, even as you get older, you can still get distracted with life in general, and sort of the noise and expectations outside, and sort of lose that real vision. Um,
Definitely.
and the sad thing is, it sounds like you even get it from 60-year-old men in this space, so that's even crazier.
For the older men here, I'm definitely of one of the older guys in this space, and I don't try to really sit back and come in here and tell people what to do. I'd rather listen to good things from folks, and have good conversations, because I think you can really learn a lot more that way. And I don't care how old you get, you never stop learning. That never stops. But certainly, you have certain kinds of experiences and and experiences and wisdom that you can pass on, that really, I think, is the ideal for what older Black men should really be about. Others who have come here with other ideas and want to be masterful in their teachings and so forth, but yet are nothing of the kind. I think it's and misleading people in so many different ways. I think that's the worst. That's the worst that's the worst that we can be. And quite frankly, we really need and ought to do better. That's very important. That's something that we should be consistently trying to do. Is to be as forthright and as straightforward as we can. And ego doesn't play a lot into this. Even though we like to talk about it, everyone's got an ego or whatever, but let's keep it real. And for the young people, it's not my place to shut them up and say, "Listen to me, I'm telling you." No, the name of the game is, "Hey, let me hear what you have to say. I want to hear everything from you, good, bad, and the ugly, and then let's talk about it.
Right.
Let's talk about that." And that's the type of interaction that we should be having here. And that's the kind of talk that we have, or we should have, amongst the men. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe Nagone, you and I are the two oldest in here. Um, uh, I I know my time here before was just wanting to help. However that help came, however that help was requested, just to help. And what I've learned and my reason for leaving the space uh, was because there's a difference between asking for help and truly desiring help. And spending such a significant amount of time on men who talk about help, who question that they want help, and you give it and they do nothing with it. I believe you guys used to have a phrase, "just here for the conversation."
Yeah.
Was the phrase or something like so
Yeah.
something like that? It's been a while, so forgive me.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but and I have no intentions on being part of that anymore. Um, and
Yeah. Me
unfortunately,
neither.
as much as I hate to use this phrase, I burnt out a little bit, to be quite honest with you. Um, I think that not only as older gentlemen are we supposed to assist the younger generation, it's our duty, and it's a duty that, for me personally, is filled with honor. Um, in some cases, I had the opportunity to meet other men who thought the same, but for the vast majority of my life growing up, I didn't have that. So when I learned it, I held on to it, and I think it's something that's of significant value. I think I think I think it's one of the cornerstones of being a man, especially an older man. You're supposed to pass that knowledge on, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even know if it's older, to be honest with you, because I think it may be just men in general. Because I mean, like I said, I'm in my early 30s, but I mean, I'll have people reach out to me who are like in college, whether it be, they see where I went to school, and they're going to the same school, and they're looking for their first job, or or like even younger employees who have started their career. you know they don't want to seek out someone who's super senior, like a senior manager. So they'll look for someone like us who's mid-career. And that's honestly one of the more enjoyable things I get to do, to be frank with you, is be able to pass down information. Hey, even if it's hey, if I know, hey,
no,
it's gonna push them farther than me, because I'm
well,
not.
no. I mean, you're absolutely right. I don't disagree with that at all. I think my perspective, and to go and correct me, if you think I'm wrong. I do agree with you. I think every man should do that. That's our responsibility as men, whether it's our child or not. It doesn't make a difference. I think for me, what I'm talking about with older gentlemen is that it's a very special kind of place that we sit, that we that there's enough of us in this space that instead of acting like the mature men that we are, we're running around like we're 15 chasing little girls. And that bothers me because as being older men, we're supposed to be more seasoned. We're supposed to be a bit more wise. Not saying wiser than anybody else, but just being a bit more wise to understand how things work and to pass on not just knowledge but wisdom and how to move and how to act accordingly. And that's not taking away from anyone younger than us. I just think for us being who we are at the age we are, there's a reason we have the titles of being elders being so important.
Well,
If that makes sense.
it certainly does make sense, and in our community, the Black community, elders, one of the things why we considered ourselves a very conservative community was because, we were very church going, God fearing. Um, we had great respect for our elders. And we were very, community family oriented. That's kind of how, that's kind of how most of us came up who were older. I see some of that coming back around a bit, but that's what we were. And the older people, we looked at them as they did have wisdom. Some of that has been lost with some of the younger generations now, just because of the nature of kind of the breakdown in some respects of some of the society and culture just to some degree. But that's how we always were. We were always this way. That was the strength and kind of the cornerstone of the Black community. So,
Yeah.
I would always say is when I say going back to the basics, I think so many of us are trying to really push that back to that kind of to that ideal, and I think the closer we come to that, the better we are. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree.
Now,
I would agree.
now I wonder too if it's the internet in the sense of it's given it's given guys who normally, like if you saw them in real life, the guys who really didn't amount to much, now for what an internet connection is, you can basically be whoever and no one really has to verify. So
Well, what
I
happened? What happened is the corner that was outside is becoming online now.
yep.
Like basically
Yes, yes,
they're bringing that dysfunctional position everywhere in life, and and
yes.
that's the problem. The same people that will sit in the corner in real offline are doing it online, and they're
Hmm.
just kind of turning this into this like you always say MOT in front of the liquor store, talking about whatever. It's not it's the unproductive people are turning everything and making everything unproductive because. But let me just say this: looking at the older people here, there's one thing I see consistently in those older people who have learned from their life is that they become more stoic, more unmovable and concerning what's going around. Like I look at my grandfather, he didn't care about what was happening around him. He cared about maintaining the principles that he valued and he knew were important and making sure that he became a pillar and an unmovable force concerning how whatever was going on around him, and that's what's being lost. And that's why just having men come together and just because here's the thing: when you're promoting progress, you have to be honest about what impedes progress, like being distracted, being undisciplined, being irresponsible. And see, these are basic things. Like when I hear guys talking about, well, won't y'all just talk about what progress? Yeah, well, we're talking about what being undisciplined, irresponsible, unproductive, lazy, what all these things are. Yeah, you can't get to progress until you understand these things because we've all lived and we understand what being distracted, undisciplined, irresponsible, lazy, unproductive. We've all had a state or even a segment of our lives where that has compromised something in our life in terms of goal and perspective about what we would like to have out of life. So when we do that, that impedes people who want to turn distractions and being undisciplined into a whole different niche of itself. And see, the issue is like, look, that you can't bring a paradox where the theme is progress and then try to turn anti-progress as a niche within progress. It can't work like that. It's like don't come around progress because here's the thing, like I said, these topics, none of us will get on the panel talking about Sexy Red or any of this foolishness. We wouldn't do that. But when we were on the panel that's talking about something productive, we have people coming up within us trying to say, well, how can we, like the whole black boys argument or what can help black men or whatever, right? And then you get people talking about, all this stuff that's against, is antithesis to progress, and then being intellectually dishonest in a discussion which they could easily bow out. If you're not for progress, there's plenty other places to go to just talk about foolishness. But you
Can I
come
just?
to a place. Go ahead, you got it.
No, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's my internet. I keep thinking somebody's done in and out. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. Because I see what's going on. It's like when I first realized I was on panels, right? When I was thinking that people wanted to talk and have a discussion. And then I get somebody who just yelling at me, talking about who is this person, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, okay, what happened? I thought this was a discussion about the topic, and then people want to just come up here and start talking about something totally irrelevant on a open topic, open panel, and then I realized, okay, so because this is where I understand what MOT talks about sometimes, where people don't regulate panels. And I had to learn this on my own channel when I used to let people come up like panel regulation is important because people will take you off topic. They will straw man you into something that's not even associated with what your what the focus is. And it's like I realized that there's this kind of it's like this thing, this watchful eye of people watching people progress in life, right? And then when they see you progressing, they want to come in and sabotage what you're
So
doing.
like you just said, if your panel is moving right, you have people who will come in there to make sure that they get
I mean,
on that panel to derail the conversation.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yes,
They are there specifically to do that. They know what they're doing.
sabotage is normal to them.
They- they-
Sabotage is normal to them. Non-progression is normal to them. If you make them feel so stupid by just existing, prepare for an actual outburst.
they- they-
Oh
they're
yeah.
and they're
Oh yeah.
they're living chaos. They're
And if I
living
could, if I could
chaos.
just, if I could just say something real quick, because I was thinking about Hulk with the Red and whoever the other people are. Look, we we all grew up with adults. Coming in and talking about Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, so on and so forth. Can you imagine our mothers if we came in there talking about somebody like Sexy Red?
Nah,
Oh
couldn't do it.
God, yeah.
Not in
Can
my
you can you can you imagine? Can you imagine how our mothers would look at us talking about Meg Thee Stallion or Cardi B? Look. It's like- I just thought that was humorous. I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
thought
man,
that was
those
humorous.
even those female Caligulars. Well, well, Quiz Friends, what's going on, man? Nice coming up.
Hey, how y'all doing, gentlemen? I'm swapping out this trailer. I just had to, chime in. Somebody had me. I forgot who it was that made the point that I got in kind of a hot water around Christmas time. My family, they talk about my dad and my uncles how they was with the um how they was with back in the day with the ladies and okay, but I my niece was there, and I had been talking. I've been talking to her about being productive. Get your stuff together. Don't worry about all the other stuff. And I had to go ahead and break it down in front of my whole family, which they got mad at me. It's on my dad's side. Um, Look, don't waste like the man said earlier. Don't waste your time living somebody else's dreams. Don't waste your time because I wasted too much of my life in whether it be the church or other family members, other people wasting my time dealing with their riffraff. Here it is. When I turn 40, that's when the light click on my head. I need to get stuff straight for myself, and it's a big waste of time. And but back to the Christmas thing, they were talking about. But I said, now, my sweet dear niece, this is what I'm talking about. All the entertainment, all these years, what have been got? But you look to my uncle, who wasn't as popular on my mama's side, wasn't as popular as my father. He didn't have all the women. But what he got around town is respect. He can go to the courthouse and people, hey, Roger, come here. People know him. All that entertainment, the flashy stuff, that ain't relevant. Cause once you get older, it's gonna go away. But what really counts being productive in the long run, it always count over anything. And that's all I gotta say.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just at the end of the day, man. Like that's why I don't take the content down. So you can see with the people who was kind of edging in on the conversation like they wanted to be the productive 4, 5, 6 years ago, and you see the bullshit that they on right now. That's why I don't take it down. And then I get emails be like, wait a minute, that person on your panel, yeah, on my panel 5 years ago. Now look what they're doing now. Being the exact problem that they used to complain about. Now they join forces with those personnel over there and trying to do all that entertainment foolishness and shit. And it's like it's so easy to do because people don't hold people responsible or accountable unless you're trying to fix something. If you're trying
Yeah.
to fix something or keep something straight, people want to keep you to the most level of standard. But the people who don't do that shit, they just let them get away with whatever. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. So what I do is I just try to have the best arguments and just stick to that and don't get off the argument. Like the point is that the space didn't fail. Failures joined the space to drag the space to failure because that's what was normal to them. They did not
Yeah.
want there to be any space created that was going to leave them behind. Like Black YouTube was already a conquered zone for them. They wanted to look for places that could possibly leave their ass behind and go conquer those places. Like these people who come here who claim like they don't know what the space is about and all that. I'm like, bro, I'm not arguing with you about any of that because you have the best collection of stories and failures. And if you're still failing at this point, it's not the information, it's a lack of implementation, regardless of how much information you have. And so that's just kind of where we at. Like a lot of people don't understand that we have an implementation problem
Yeah.
and a reading and comprehension problem too. But it kind of goes with the lack of, the implementation piece. But that's just where we're at. And I'm proud of where we're at right now. I don't have to change anything. I'm not worried about anything. Right now, I still think this is still a successful way to go. Is by not bending the knee and doing all this other bear in the woods content or drizzle bullshit. It's just better not to do that. Because one thing we do not have throughout history, we may have it in our family, but there's not been an online pushback in real time against this foolishness that's happening real time.
Yeah, I mean, people have chosen popularity over progress, and they're not going to be honest to say that. They're not going to be honest. They're trying to turn popularity into progress by trying to, you know, say, look how much notoriety I have. This can do something. Trying to turn sub count into a movement or something, and it's weird and it's foolishness. And like you say, it leads to stagnation. It leads to oversaturation of topics and comment that mean nothing in real life. Like people, I'm seeing this foolishness attract a lot of people who have real problems in their life, kind of escape their problems and live in emotion while their problems continue to fester and become so big until these people have crash outs. And so it's like when we separate, because I noticed that people hate the fact there's a separation, but dysfunction and progress is always going to be a separation. So because we separate and we look back in history and we're even talking among ourselves, explaining what happened, because a lot of times people have a problem with even us among ourselves explaining what happened in terms of retrospect to what happened in this space. And when we say that, they people think we're personally attacking. No, no, we're
I,
just
I think I
objectively
think
speaking things as they are. You
That's
got
what
it.
I was
I
going
bet.
to talk.
I
Who's
think
next? Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, Lars.
I think um uh going back to what Hope said about the popularity and the notoriety and subcounts and all that good stuff. My perspective has been more of a from a scriptural angle about the love of money, and the love of money being the root of all evil. Because that's really what they're doing. They just changed the currency.
Yeah.
They just did a currency exchange because I mean they're using subscriber counts, popularity, notoriety as if it was money in and of itself. They just changed the currency, but it's the same thing. And like I said, it's like anything else in life. They'll fall. They're going to. I mean, it's not even debatable. It's gonna
It's already
happen.
happening.
Yeah,
It's already
yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Thank you. And like I said, I have to take everybody's word for it because I haven't been here, so I don't know what's going on with who. But that's something that's something I strongly believe. No ifs ands or buts. They're gonna go. They're gonna go. And you and I have talked about this many a times in private. MOT. We just waiting for the dust to clear to see who's left standing. So you, I mean, that's really all we're doing. Like I said, they frustrate us. They annoy us, and they get a little extra sometimes. But at the end of the day, yeah, we're just waiting for the dust to settle. And I've said it to you before. Whoever survived, I'm sniping. So I don't.
I mean, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, the best thing is just to be right, and they have to dodge your whole existence to keep their bullshit going. That's what I like.
And that's a dangerous thing. Well, that's a dangerous thing too. Always the need to always be right. Because I personally, like I said, it's just me personally. I can't be that person. I cannot be right all the time. I can't because I know in the back of my mind as a man that's an impossibility. It's
Yeah.
absolutely impossible to be right all the time. And Hulk and I have talked about this before that it's one of those situations that like Hulk will correct me on something. And to me it's not a big deal because that's what my brother is supposed to do. He's not
Likewise.
supposed to go out. He's not supposed to let me go outside and sound and act like a fool. He's not supposed to do that. He's supposed to correct me. And I know that correction comes from love. So I have to take it in that fashion. But if you become the type of person who won't even base your foundation in truth or righteousness,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
that's
have no
crazy.
purpose. You have no purpose being around me. I have no purpose for you being in my life. You're a dead weight. You have to go. Because if you're not that person, then I can't trust you.
Uh,
No
uh,
doubt.
that's absolute. And let me ask some, Lawrence guy. Um, you consider yourself to still be learning. Would I be correct about that?
Go. I am so sorry. My internet shifted again. I missed all that. Could you say that one more time for me, please?
Yeah. Would you consider yourself a person who is still learning things, that you're still in the process of learning?
Oh, I'm gonna be learning. I'm gonna be learning on this earth and in heaven, the next life. I'm gonna be learning all the time. That's just a given.
All right. So how can one be right all the time if you're consistently learning? How can you be right all the time?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Even if I wasn't learning, I still don't want to be right all the time. It's not natural.
It just isn't. It's not a natural state. I mean, we're constantly learning. There's going to be mistakes made. You learn from mistakes as well. So that's just a part of of the life experience. So that's why when I see people who they just want to be right all the time, you kind of have to stay away from them at a certain level because you know where that's going to
You
lead you.
will you will fall into levels of disingenuousness, and then you have to keep up that level of disingenuousness,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to back down and keep up that level of disingenuousness. So it's
It's
kind of
not just
like
it's not just disingenuousness. You will live your life deceived constantly.
Yep. Building your life on your ego alone, on the ego
yeah,
alone. And this is the issue. There has to be a humility to the truth. Like when we talk about things that work, we're humble enough to listen to what other people have to add because the truth is bigger than all of us. We just add our personal perspective to the collective of what the truth is. And it's like we've all learned and from many different facets of life, we all have wisdom and experience to add. And this is kind of what men coming together as a collective were designed to do, to bring out collective experience and knowledge to grow everyone, not just one individual, but everyone benefits from it. And
Hmm.
see, what's happening here is that social. social media is kind of turning into this kind of uh, progress vacuum where everything gets lost in this superficial realm of people's egos. You know, the ego is all about, I want me to be seen. I don't want nobody to see me. I want people to see the truth. I want people to see what's good for everybody, not me. I have nothing to do with it. I'm just adding my piece to this large collective pie of information. I don't
Right.
want people to come to me for anything. Actual, real, actual men want to help other men be leaders in their own lives. It's not
That's
about
correct.
being someone's leader. It's about helping someone to the point where they begin to lead in their own lives. They're not no longer as being swayed away by what's happening around them. They have the principles that are available for everybody. You know, the principles of discipline, of uh, productivity, all these things, certain values that are available to everybody, to not be distracted or influenced by your own internal issues, because that's another thing with men. Their internal issues, they have not overcame adolescent urges, and they're kind of regressing into this arrested development or adolescence. About, it's all about sexual access. It's not about, like,
Yeah.
that's a high school issue. That's a high school issue. About, that doesn't belong in the realm of adult men who are about progress. We've already overcame that. And see, the problem is men who are stunted their whole growth on that want to act like they can speak on progress.
Well,
But look at
I'm gonna tell
but
you,
look at their
I'm gonna
outcomes.
tell you this. Well, yeah, because I was gonna say, look at the outcomes, because I was about to say all that nonsense with men running around talking that nonsense about sexual access and all this other muck and acting like they still in high school. And to go, you can respond if you want, but I'm going to speak for me specifically. As an older man, that is the last thing on my mind.
I mean,
I mean, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. That is the last thing on my mind. I'm talking about my stocks. I'm talking about my bonds, my money, my bank account, my house, my real estate. My children are okay. My grandchildren are. Sexual access. Look, as older men, we don't care. We don't care.
because at this point in time in your life, you're dealing with all the other factors that are very important in just in you've built your life on a lot of different things, and you have other people who are counting on you. You have a lot of other things that are going on in your life that this sexual access thing is just it's just not a factor. It's just not a factor. It's not important. I mean, some woman's ass, is that really critical to what's going on out here? I mean, how is that going to advance? How is that going to help? You know, um, let's say my kids or my grandson or whatever else. Family. What does that mean to that? What does that mean to like you were saying, your stocks, your bonds, just your career and all? It's just it's ultimately it's ridiculous. I mean, at the end of the day, it's ridiculous if this is what your mind is fixated on, and and really a lot of women, if you know they don't expect you to be thinking about them 24/7 all the time, because your mind is not on business if you're on that. I just don't see guys that are in our age group, even a little bit younger, who are really kind of moving forward, who are just caught up with this. I just don't see it, but yeah,
And
this is what you see in this space, because you have a lot of people who are pushing certain narratives, I guess, to get views and so forth. But you have some people coming in here whose, I'll say it straight out there, whose minds are not right. Their
Yeah.
minds are not.
I'll
You know.
add to it and say that uncultured women are looking for unfocused men. They belong to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like, if
Yes.
you're unfocused, you're going to be, you're going right to the wrong woman. Because here's the thing: when you're prioritized in life about what's important, and for me, of course, that's the Most High at the top, and everything else under that, everything fits into place, including the right kind of woman. I don't have to think about that. That's going to be built in comprehensively to what I have prioritized in
Yep.
life. It's going to be built in. It's not something I have to just make this big thing and see what. And this is where this is the weird part about when you're dealing with men who are 35 and up, who are being disingenuous about this, even though they have the failed outcomes in their life. They can't be honest about what they went or are going through to keep other men away from that. And so when we say, just speaking from our experience of, okay, this is what works, and what works, it works for everybody. It's not what
Hmm.
works for me. There's the nuance to this, but what actually works in a very simplistic way is what works for everybody. And we're just trying to tell the knowledge. It's like telling men that you have to be productive, you have to gain skills and use your wisdom of experience to kind of comprehensively develop yourself. That's just what's right for everybody. And that's the
Yeah.
core about what should be promoted from men. We're giving you the framework of success. Now you have to use the nuances of your particular experiences and the differences in life to add on around that. But we're giving you the skeleton, the framework for you to build on. And so, because it's not about like I said, when you have your mind and you're focused and you're not distracted and you're not influenced, you've overcome uh being undisciplined, and and you see the world objectively about what's going on and how to survive. You just, everything's going to fall into place. Otherwise, you're going to seek a place in dysfunction, and dysfunction
Hmm.
may may it may seem glorious for a moment, but it's always going to throw you away in the end. And this is what we're trying to we're and and we have history to reveal this. This is not, it's not the first time in life that someone gained a lot of money from doing the wrong thing and then it blew up in their face. This is obvious self-evident knowledge and truth. But
Nothing new. Nothing new under the sun.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like we're just building out on the backs of other giants that came before us. Like we always talk about the elders in our families, our grandparents, our grandfathers, and great grandfathers, and the legacy of men who actually stood against all this nonsense to keep things moving forward. And we're just continuing our, to add on to that was laid there before us. And this is what men do. There's
Yep.
always a structure and a foundation, and it's men's job to maintain that foundation and structures that so that it's available throughout all generations. We're not here to nitpick and tell people how to do nuances and details of their life, but just to maintain the basic structure is that you have to overcome first yourself, your own problems, your internal issues, because you need clarity so you can actually see real life and not be influenced by these distractions and all these narratives and all this other stuff. No, go
Oh yeah.
out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't be lazy. Don't go out. People used to tell me early in life, like, look, you don't have to tell a man to go get a woman. He's going to do that on his own. But you got to tell a man to go get a job. You got to
He
tell
doesn't
a
even
man
need to
to
do that. He doesn't even need to, because I used to tell Akon and all of them, when I used to be on their channel, I used to tell them, you don't have to go looking for a woman.
right,
You don't. As a matter of fact, I will double down on it, and I would hazard to guess every man on this panel, when he's on his purpose and he's being stoic and doing what he's supposed to do for himself and his purpose, there's never been a shortage of women who came looking for us. Not a
right,
one.
right,
Now the person on it, and I will take that to the bank. Now the person on this panel could say that when they were on their purpose, they weren't getting women looking at them or checking them out,
Uh,
because that's what happens. Women have a built-in radar for that stuff. They're going to come to you regardless. All you have to do is do what you're supposed to do.
at, at my age, at my age, you know, a man in in his 60s, moving into his 60s,
Mhm.
I do not have a problem with dealing with any type of woman or worrying about can I get a woman that
And
has been
young ones.
of course, but
And yeah,
you know,
that's what I'm saying, because I'm coming up on 60 myself, and I'm telling you, I got young ones coming at me all the time, and I'm like, why?
and and I had a young woman tell me one time. Well, I says, yeah. Well, I mean, you're kind of young. Going after older guys like myself. What's up with that? A lot of these young guys not into anything.
Yep.
What? So
Yep.
so 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 they would say things like this. So, I just look at it. I tell people you got a very long, you got a long run out here. If you roll them properly, you got a long run. Oh, you're giving them people hope. Oh, whatever. People, they have something to say about it. But I don't argue with them. It's just those who understand that, and then those who consistently move forward and grow will see this as well. And
Right.
that's just where this is. So
Yeah.
the name of the game is to stay productive, and that's our message here. That's what we really
Yeah.
are trying to
That's
consistently
all you
say,
got to do.
and
That's
work
all
with
you got to do.
productive people. And
Yeah,
then
that's it. That's all you got to do. Because, like I said,
Working with
I'm
like-minded people builds that group, and people are like, oh, I
yeah.
can't find nobody to work with. I'm like, well, that means you don't have anything to offer anybody.
Right. Right.
And see, and
And
for me
yeah, you have to be honest with
as a
that.
man of
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm sorry. You were talking. I'm so sorry.
Oh, let me get to
MOT.
this super chat. Yeah. This
Yeah.
from XC $5. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Correct. I do believe.
MOK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, MOK. Yeah. I think that was his quote.
Yep.
Um,
yeah,
but
that's XC. That's brother XC, man. He's highly buttolated.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
anyway, great comment.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
But like you and MOT was saying, you just got to be productive, stay productive, be around productive people. Myself, as a man of faith, I don't worry about a woman. The Most High will send me a Proverbs 31 woman when He's ready. That's not my job. I mean, that's not my job. My job is to do what He wants me to do, and what He wants me to do is be a
Uh-huh.
productive person to society and to my general community. He'll send me everything else. I don't worry about that. And like I
Right.
said, even if you're not a person of faith and you just live in a secular life, again, we've seen it throughout history. You stay productive, you build your bag, you ain't gotta look for them. They will find you. They always do. That's why I don't understand why guys just sit around constantly talking about this woman that woman this woman that woman that. Why? Why you first of all, you're complaining about, you want a woman you're complaining about. That's your first error.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's your first error. You're literally complaining about a woman you want. If you have to complain about her, she should not be there because that means she's not productive or conducive to your way of life and what you're doing.
Yeah,
That's in the
exactly.
story. And
yeah,
it's, and don't get me wrong. That's not a gender thing. I don't care if it's your homeboys. If they're not conducive to what you're doing, they got to go too.
no, a lot of them are running behind big. A lot of them didn't get big booty Brenda, right? They're still complaining about big booty Brenda. I remember when I used to roll with Obsidian some years back, and he was still complaining about the girls at his prom. And here's a man in his 50s still talking about if you guys remember the prom women, and to me, that's prom a long time ago, so
Yeah.
a lot of these guys are still chasing what they didn't have, and they are running behind the women that they complain about. It's just like a lot of these same women out here that were running around complaining about these guys that was so terrible. First chance they got, they were running behind the same dudes. So you'll see that, and you got to know where to cut the line and not to deal with certain and then deal with others. These guys are complaining about a lot of the same women the women that they complain about are the women that are chasing a lot of these guys. You got to
Yep.
understand it. Do,
And
do
a
you
lot
Yep.
of
really do you really have time for that? That's my question.
Yeah.
Especially
And I
every
don't
day,
mean
4 or 5 hours a day. Come on, man.
yeah. And I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, but I'm sorry. Look, whatever discrepancies I may have had with my mother, my grandmother, my uncles, my aunt, whoever in my family, I don't care. I will be damned if they will see me out here chasing a hoe. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I will not dishonor my family like that. I will not. I will not. It's just not gonna
Same
happen.
here, man. Same here. I
And
don't want to be in that position. I got too many, eh, dude. I just got too many failures per capita, who actually lost everything on that meaningless journey. I'm not ending up there, man. I'm sorry. I'm not
mhm.
doing that. Not with
Like
my
I said,
life.
it's just that you never want to be that person in the family that everybody sits around the table at holidays. Like, yeah, yeah, you see what Lawrence brought home? Yeah, man. I don't know what he thinking. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be that dude. You just don't. You don't want to be that girl either. To be honest with
Right.
you,
You know
because
what
I've
happens
had
when?
that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad, my bad. It's a lower delay. I was
No, I
gonna
was.
say when.
I'm sorry. We still got the delay. You go, Hope. You just go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say when you reject what life is revealing to you through your experiences, you become blind to your own problem. And a lot of these
Mhm.
guys are blind to their own problem. You know, they are
Yes.
blind to the fact that this lack of accountability, because they don't understand that a woman will always use a fool, but she'll never respect you. But these guys are so concerned about just being relevant, and they don't know the difference between being used or being respected. And respected is not something that's dependent on the woman. It's dependent on you, because the world respects. Here's the thing: people always respect what they can't influence. They respect like things that are just structured and immovable. And this is why, like, the best way to protect yourself is to be stoic in principles and values that will protect you. And guys are looking for a woman to validate something that they have to value from, outside of a woman. These principles and values that are existential about um, valuing the right things, being introspective to your own issues, your own problems, and seeing how to grow, learning from your own experiences. These things can't come from a woman. They come from life experiences. A lot of us had to go through a lot of really bad situations. Now, there's two things that could have happened from that situation. We could have thrown a pity party and went into depression and got on drugs and killed ourselves, or we could learn from that situation. We can grow and grow in our understanding and understand what is to be valued and what wisdom can be gained from that failure, and build ourselves into a more resilient man. And that's how you do it, because we
Yeah.
all start off on this level of foolishness. That's just the nature of things. But are you learning from it? Are you are you humble enough to look at life, what life gives you through your own experience, and say, you know what, making this woman my priority is running me into this wall. Am I going to continue to run into this wall and then blame the wall, or I'm going to look at me and say, why do I keep ignoring this wall, and want to acknowledge that that's a problem within me, my psyche, my what I desire, without my lack of focus. And then you remove the wall because you have attained focus. And it's like you don't hear a lot of men talking about. I realized that I can't converse with a lot of these people anymore when the conversations about self accountability, self awareness, and personal responsibility become hate words. Like,
Yes.
people, I
Hate
don't want to talk
speech.
about. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this woman. I'm like, what? I'm like,
Yeah,
Hmm.
man. It's considered hate speech among dumb niggas, man. It is hate speech.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we get
And
trolled, like
and
I'll go on panels and just say things that have just basic, low level common sense, and then I'll get somebody to troll on something that makes no sense. Just I realized that, okay, and this is why I take your advice, Lawrence, and I realized, you know what, I allowed myself to get pulled into something on some level that I shouldn't have not got that close to. That these people actually know who I am,
hmm
and some of it is infiltration, and they disguise themselves, but a lot of it is I assume that these people could be reached. I assume that these people cared and valued self-evident logic and reality, and I should have just removed myself from not even talking to some of these people, because and that's the part where I learned, because I realized that some people actually need us around to be their like antagonist. They're turning us into content. I call it conflict content, where now people want to get you to waste your life arguing with them, and they don't even value. They're not even looking for a right answer. They're just turning the drama into content. And I'm just like, okay, you don't even
Yep.
care about right and wrong. You just want to galvanize stupid people for a laugh.
hmm
And that's what it
Yeah.
is. Use
Yeah.
what they're doing is they're weaponizing. They're putting out the dog bowls for the random animals in the woods to come up and actually eat. And it's like,
hmm
man, that's
Right.
not what you supposed. And it's like they come to the black manosphere to do that. Like they didn't go to Black YouTube to do that because here's the thing about Black YouTube. Them entertainers are not gonna let you build a house on their shit. They gonna smell that you want the same thing that they want, and they're not even gonna let your ass up. But you can
Nope.
go and corrupt the space quicker than you can to build your own shit, and that's what happened here. A
Yep.
lot of people jumped in to corrupt the actual space. A lot of people jump in and they misunderstand directly what the space is about, even though there's a history, there's a framework, there's track records, there's personnel who still was here now who was back then, but they still play dumb. You got people like, oh, the black manosphere, are they like a last year I looked at this morning and I had to tell him, I'm like, dude, listen, if you're gonna be criticizing our space, you got to be specific with names. And his response was, I'm not going to be specific with names because I don't want any notoriety. I'm like, man, go to hell, bro. Get out of here. But that's just where we at, man.
But they're not going to be honest either. They're not going to be honest. See, they don't see. They know
That's what I'm
that
saying. How can you be honest about that and not name names? And it's like, okay, I don't want to be popular, but I am. I'm like, but we ain't the problem here. But the
we're not
problem
looking to
is
be
that
popular.
the moment that you ask him, all right, man, so who are you subscribed to that you consider manosphere? That's when the conversation gets silent or get quiet or they want to talk about something else other than the people who they actually support.
And that's another problem too. But if you think about it, because they'll come in here and you'll ask them that question about who they think is the manosphere, and when you really listen to the names they give, they are not. They are
Not
not.
even close.
Now they might be they might be sitting inside the house, but that don't make them manosphere. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
They just people who came in, knocked open the door, and kicked over some furniture, but that doesn't make them manosphere. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
And I like to add a little 2 cents in on that manifest thing. You know, some major players that was in the manosphere got a whole bunch of chaos started. Then it got too much for them. They left, and now they rebuking the manosphere. Minister Jab, O'Shea. I'm like, huh? Y'all ushered in all this riffraff, and now you want to leave? No, you can't. It ain't too hot in the kitchen for you, is it? Stay with the riffraff. I mean, I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
they revealed the truth that they were just there for their ego. They weren't there
Yeah,
to promote the truth. See, when you're there to
yeah.
promote the truth, it's not about you promoting your brand or anything like this. Because here's the thing: I always wondered that why is it that men can't think they can't find more productive, logical, uncompromising ways to make money? Why do people think the only way you can make money in this world is to
Foolishness.
promote the dysfunction, is to galvanize the idiots? Is that's the only? It's because when people say people are rich, I'm like, okay, so don't you complain about women twerking and getting OnlyFans and making money by doing unproductive, irresponsible things? And now you're doing the same thing, and you don't even see your hypocrisy.
But people love that disorder. They
Yeah, they do.
love they love it. They love it.
It rules their
They
life.
they
That's
they
it's a
they
drug to them.
they
It's a dopamine.
they love it. They
Mm.
love this crazed, wild female out here running around.
Oh no,
They
no, 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 no. Let's call it for what it is.
they
Unfortunately, our people are now into debauchery. Period.
they
Point blank.
they 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 love this. They love this chaotic what does Black Ram call them? Chaos goblins. They like
Ah,
they these chaos. They love that shit. They love dabbling it. They love
They
it.
want to live just like her.
They
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 want to
they
live just like her.
they love that shit. They can't get enough. You start talking about the black female effery running around. They you will stack them. You will stack them in. They love that. They love that disorder. This disorderly female, and they love complaining. They love complaining and fighting over her. They love it. But
mhm.
these guys are not that productive. They're sitting around worrying about that. That's
Well, like I,
it
well,
is
like I
what it
said,
is.
well, like I said earlier, they complain about the very women they chase.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
Sure do.
and the weird part, they know how it's going to end. That's why I keep saying willful ignorance. They know how it's going to end. They know this. There's nobody who does not understand how it's going to end. but they want it anyway. It's debauchery, you know. And it's debauchery, it's ratchetness, or from me and Hulk's perspective, it's the days of Noah. I mean, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it is what it is what it is.
yeah, and it's like it's really weird because now I'm realizing that even when you don't address these people, there's a problem. Like I have a lot of people that I didn't know watch me that I don't even know, and I hear bringing up my name, and I'm just like, okay, I don't. I'm the kind of person that just brings up the principles and the logic about things. I don't really because I think it's important for people to know what they could use to help themselves. It's not necessarily look, everybody's been a fool before, but this is what works, and this is how you can avoid a lot of things. Understand what's a distraction, what's social engineering, and all these things, right? And it's like people, the more you make sense, it's like these dudes just want to act like you're holier than thou or better than thou. I'm like, why am I telling you? I actually tell people that I had to learn these things as well. I humbled myself before the truth because I had to learn it as well. I had to learn and overcome a lot of my issues and my circumstances. And I think it'll be disingenuous of me if not sharing this wisdom, just like the elders share their wisdom to the younger. And now I'm in my 40s. I know that's not where y'all at, but you get to a point where there, like you said, it's an honor to share learned knowledge and wisdom with younger people that they can at least have it there in their treasure when they go through these experiences. Because you can't stop people from going through experiences, but the wisdom is there when they go through them. Like you could tell people till they blow in the face as a young person, don't do these things. And 9 out of 10 times they're going to do it anyway. But if they didn't have the wisdom there for when they do them, they could reflect and say, you know what? Now I now have a framework to understand what happened. And it was given to me by someone who actually valued my outcomes by warning me of these things. And so now
Hmm.
I know this is the truth. I can acknowledge the people who actually were stoic enough to tell it and not just, you know, laugh at people who fail in life, and kind of you can develop that same trait in them. They'll grow up, they'll overcome, and they'll share the same knowledge for the younger people and keep this foundation going. That's what it's all about. Like you say, it's standard. As you get older, and Lawrence, you alluded to this. It's standard to pass down wisdom and experience and knowledge and opportunity to younger people. MOT, I remember when you used to tell people how to gain government contracts and how to do certain things and how to start and get started with the trucking businesses and how to work to own your own truck and all that stuff and just the whole framework of a very lucrative opportunity. There's a lot of people who listened and benefited off that information, changed their lives. This is what I thought the manosphere, even with guys. I remember when I first came in here, a lot of guys were talking about their child support issues and all that. And there was still a little point where dudes were self-reflective and say, you know what? I can own the fact that I wasn't in the right frame of mind when I got put myself in this situation. I was
Yep.
unaware, I was unfocused, I was undisciplined. And so the logic of reverse engineering that situation is don't be unfocused, don't be undisciplined, don't squander time and opportunity. Take advantage before you have to learn on the back end. Be preventative because there's knowledge and wisdom there that will reveal to you that what you think is glitter ain't gold, or everything that glitters ain't gold, and you need to be, proactive to understand these things. Now, if you want to
That's
walk into a burning house, that's on you.
that was what this whole manosphere was really supposed to be about in the beginning. It was really was to about enlighten people and say, hey, listen, and for brothers to kind of talk together a bit and say, hey, listen, we've been through
Hmm.
this, we've been through that. This is what I've learned. Hopefully, I can pass this information over to you. Don't want you to make some of the mistakes I've made. Let's get into a forum to where we can all sit down and really kind of help each other grow. What this
That's
thing
why I
turned
showed
in,
up. That's it.
but what this thing turned into was the old slave Mandingo wars, where you have a bunch of black dudes now all together, and now they're going to war with each other and tearing each other out the frame and all that. And these guys they can't, they can't transcend that. But this thing was first
Right.
about, when we were really, talking about that, and going against the narrative the black man is so bad and we're all terrible and all that. And let's bring some truth to what we really are. And that's when we were having our best in this sector. that has gone by the wayside, and you've got females that have kind of infiltrated the space, and now guys are sitting here still trying to dance and shuck and jive for Keisha because she's close now here inside, and this is a lot of what you've got. These guys, a lot of these guys coming here were never serious about really developing themselves. They were trying to get a hold of, like we said, Big Booty Brenda, who they didn't get before, and
If it wasn't that, it was super chats.
Yeah.
there you
or
go.
or
There you go.
No,
like now the
There you go.
biggest productive thing is the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. I mean, what is that gonna help? How's that gonna help you pay your light bill tomorrow?
who
Worried
even
about a
cares?
beef.
It's
Man,
not.
man,
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's
What
not,
what what,
and
what I mean, why is that on the top of the priority list to listen to what okay? I mean, life still go on. Tomorrow gonna come. Then what? Is Kendrick and Drake gonna help you out with something to be productive? No.
Well,
You
people
know,
have
uh,
thrown away standard procedure for success for the potential of moonshot success. There's a standard procedure for success in a frame that everybody can follow, and then there's I'm gonna throw away that for this what you call MOT the moonshot success, or
yeah,
I'm gonna throw a hail mary and I got a 1 in a billion chance of making it, but I'd rather do that than go for the standard successful procedure that is guaranteed if fulfill my role of the bargain
but
and
that
I
goes
have
back to what
diligence and perseverance.
I said earlier. The answer is right there in what you said. It requires work.
Yeah, diligence and perseverance. Yeah, and
I,
that should be standard for men.
no, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. But again, apparently, with all due respect, we're not really talking about men. We might be talking about people who project the male
Right.
aspect, but we're not talking about men.
Yeah.
And
No.
again, and again, it's not just a gender thing. Like I said, it's the women too. There seems to be this anathema against hard work. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, no, it's not supposed to be hard work. I'm just supposed to get it like that, and let's keep it moving, and I can do whatever I want. Nobody wants to do hard work. I mean, as a matter of fact, as crazy as it sounds, you know how you know Hulk, how you talk about health and the gym and stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's hard work. That's
Hmm.
hard work. You got to put the work in if you want the results. But what do we got? We got Ozempic instead. You understand what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Looking for a
nobody.
shortcut.
Exactly. Nobody wants to do the work. Well, no one of value, rather. Let me put it that way. No, nobody of value wants to do the work. And and again, it's like I said before, that thing about being getting older and becoming elder statesmen and all that good stuff. That
Mhm.
thing about wanting to share our knowledge and help people, that's not just something we do because it's a desire. That's ingrained in us. That's built in us no different than being a protector and provider. That's part of our DNA.
Right.
We want to do it. And that's why I said earlier, it doesn't even matter if it's your child or somebody else's child. It's just in our DNA. We want to pass on our knowledge because in that knowledge is also our history, if
Right.
that makes sense.
And I'll add
So
to
it's
what you say. I was going to add to what I was saying. And doing the work will imprint you with the principles to maintain that level of success. Because getting success and maintaining success are not the same things.
that's
But when
correct.
you do the work, it imprints you with those principles to maintain it. Because a lot of times, like you can do a lot of compromising things to get money, but to maintain it and not put yourself in situations that are detrimental and will lead to a bad outcome, you need those values and principles to kind of protect you and insulate you from the wrong venue that money can take you in. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
absolutely, absolutely. And we look, we seen that with our people whenever they win lotto.
Yep. Lottery,
Yeah,
lottery, or just anybody who never earned anything and got it, it
hmm,
destroys you.
yep,
Destroys you.
yep. Like I said, I'm the Goins are a little older than I am, but like I said, I'm coming up on that corner on 60 myself. And at the end of the day, I've been working since I was 14.
Same here.
So that's a pretty good chunk of change of a person's life to understand
Yep.
how things work, how to move money, how to use money appropriately, how not to be wasteful, how to understand that the long term will always be better than than the short term dopamine hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
so
money's, yeah. No, you
yeah,
hit it right there. Money's a
yeah.
tool. It's a
Yeah,
tool.
exactly. Yeah, and that's what I tell people all the time. Money's a tool. I mean, and like any tool, it depends on how you use it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Can you use a hammer to break glass? Sure you can, but it's meant for a nail. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
So
right,
Yeah.
right. Precision. Yep. Focus.
you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like I said, um, productive men will always be around. We're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
We're
that's
Yeah.
not
right,
going to go.
man. Well,
And I'll tell you something else too. And I'm gonna flip it just real quick. And I know this is going to sound maybe strange, but I'm gonna flip it real quick. They're not the bane of us. We're the bane of them.
Yes.
Because as long as we're around, they can't go whole hog.
yeah.
That's why they hate us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys understand what I'm saying? They're
As
not.
long
That's
as you
why they
keep
want
the
us to go create
Yeah,
another space so that way they can destroy this one. And once they get rid,
e-
and once we
e-
create another space, they'll go destroy that one. I'm like, so at
exactly.
what point are you just gonna be able to stand up in front of these people's faces and just keep being on the actual message of what it is for?
Yeah,
You know?
you know what I'm saying?
roaches only come around when you turn the light off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, you know, they're not out. They're not the bane of us. We're the bane of them. Or like Homeboy said in the movie, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. So, so I mean, and that's what I'm saying. We have to start looking at it from that perspective because once we do, and when I say look at it from that perspective, I mean accept it, swallow it like a hard, nasty tasting pill. But at the end of the day, they're not here for us. We're here for them.
That is true. Gentlemen, I'm gonna drop
Yeah. Same
off.
here. You know,
It,
yeah,
it
about to shut it down myself. You got any
Yeah,
last
same
words
here.
to go? Before we get up
I
out
was
of
gonna
here.
say, listen, great live streams. Wonderful being here talking to you wonderful brothers. Great to see a great. I love the chat as well. It's great. It's just great being here. And MOT, thank you for letting me
All
up.
right, all right, no problem. Thanks for
Respect,
coming on,
respect.
Nicole.
All right, that's right.
Specialized coach.
Yeah, man.
Last word for
Again,
out here.
yeah. Thanks for having me up, man. This was a great conversation. I think it was honestly, this was what needed to be said, considering what's happening and just giving an accurate depiction of where our mind is about what we're saying and what we're going and where we're going. So I think this was a good discussion. Always a pleasure to have be up here with you all. Good to see
Thank you.
you, Lawrence. Um,
Thank you.
MOT, Nagone, Renaissance Man. Who else was up here? The other guy. Good to have these conversations, man. So on that note, I'm out.
All right, cool. Lawrence, your last one, man. Thanks for coming out, man.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I know it's been a while. Shalom and blessings to everybody in the chat, those who stayed and those who had to go. Thanks to everybody on the panel. It was good. This was good. I haven't talked to everybody in a minute. That was good. And as always, MOT, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem, man. Thanks for coming out, man. All
All
right,
right.
man.
Shalom.
This right here, the Mother's Day special. Um, I know people wanted to talk a whole bunch of noise about certain types of women that you shouldn't be chasing. Those people are beneath my notice. At the end of the day, they're only doing it to get you to actually have you wallow in self pity and apathy and your lack of experience, which is not going to get you anywhere. You know, if you're going to continue to allow yourself to get hijacked by these type of things, I'm not sure what you're doing here in the first place. But I want to thank you guys for coming through on the Man Tomorrow. You guys have a really nice rest of y'all day. Peace.